Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast, episode 29 for November 7th, 2022.
Psst. You're listening to a Red Corn Studios production. Don't tell your mama.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I'm fine.
I'm in a great mood. We just had a great interview, which you all will get to hear very soon.
Yes.
In fact, just
it was great.
Yes.
So excited. So
yes,
we'll
psyched out of my mind.
We'll let you know about that in a few moments.
Yes, in a few moments. But before that, Amy, it's been a busy week,
busy
weekend.
Gosh.
Crafty Crafter weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're slowly but surely wrapping up our last band parent season, of which the pinnacle of the end of band season is a craft show. And
I know
Amy's. It's not actually. I call it Amy's Bake Sale, but it's not really. I mean, you just
the Band-Aids Bake Sale.
Yes,
and
you beat your record of last year by
$500. Yep. And
so going out on a high note,
and all doing it while on my new latest.
Your new no November.
My new no November is that I am working on taking the sugar out. Really reducing it.
So 6 days into that, you ran a bake sale.
I ran a bake sale. I actually did.
It's like saying I'm going to quit drinking and then in a week going to
oh my God,
a distillery tour or something.
True. It's crazy. I mean, I'm like, what are you thinking? You're going to quit? But it was the week.
You're not allowed. You're
it was at the end of the week.
The merchandise, so that's good.
Well, yeah, I know, but you always do. You always get something, and we always pay for it. It's like, oh, here, I'll get this, and I'll eat this, and then you feel horrible. But yeah, no, it was a great. And
so is this your new hobby, just quitting things? Like
I'm saying yes to more, Matt. I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes to my liver.
You're like, yes to kale.
I'm saying yes to my liver because we watched that movie called, what is it called again?
Oh, something about sugar. I don't know.
The Sugar Film.
Yeah, the Sugar Film on Prime is on.
Or That Sugar Film.
That Sugar Film or The Sugar Film.
It's on Prime.
Maybe other places too. But.
And it was very good. But anyways, prior to that, Halloween. And I binged on every sort of chocolate.
Funny. Like I had like 3 pieces. You're talking about this binge.
You are different than me.
I know.
I mean, it was like, oh, here come 3 little trick-or-treaters.
3 for me, 1 for you.
No, I would give them each theirs, and I'd be like, oh, I get a couple. And then we'd go, and if I really should have just taken a picture of all of the wrappers,
really?
But I should have, but in my, I don't want Matt to see this. I would take them, shove them in my pockets, then go over.
Car, I know that.
Well, I know, but it's not like right in front of you. And then also I was paying the bills, so that tied into it. So that makes me, it's just a thing. I get very, I don't know why. I think it's something, just this whole money thing. I've always been like, oh gosh, what, like the control issue. And
we're really good at budgets, so
yeah,
even if we were, I don't think that would make a difference.
And so anyways, all of that, then I was just eating.
No sugar November. Is that what it is?
Well, I've cut out.
You can't technically cut all sugar out, really. I mean, other than the lactose
this is my rule that I'm going by.
This
is my rule that I'm going by. And there's I think Dr. Mark Harmon, I don't know. But his thing is eat what God made, don't eat what man made.
Basically no added sugar type thing.
So I'm looking at, candy, cake,
candy
corn,
syrup,
all
the elf food groups.
The elf food groups.
Yeah, that's a good start.
So yesterday I did pick out, one of my friends had made some breakfast cookies. And she goes, these are not sweet cookies. They're basically lightly the only sugar is a little bit of maple syrup.
So they're basically baked
So
flour.
I was sitting there going, maple syrup? That's out of a tree. God made that. I can have this. So I did buy those. I did not eat them there. In fact, I was so busy I didn't eat until you brought me food at probably 12.
Sure.
And but anyways, yes. But we did it.
You did it.
We did it.
You survived the
and
sugar, but
it was so much fun,
We
though.
laughed because you're like, I'm on no sugar, but I'm gonna push all this sugar on all you old people at the craft show.
And you kids.
And you kids.
I rewarded all of them. Oh, you're helping with the bake sale? Oh, be sure to have one.
Yeah.
Just have something.
Do what I
have
say,
something
not
small.
as I
But
do,
anyways,
kids.
it was a lot of fun. And this is the end of
true.
us.
Really, there's March.
Yeah.
We're going to Disney, but
we're
that's
going
how
to
they-
Disney, but we're not
really doing it.
chaperoning.
We're not
We are
chaperoning,
we
no.
are going
That
to
20-hour bus
enjoy
ride.
having fun and everything. But
I'll be there in spirit.
so
with them.
anyways, that's what I'm doing on this whole sugar
I know. Have you
thing.
heard a chime? That was our son. We're going to come pick him up
Yes.
from his beach thing.
Because today is his birthday.
Today's
Happy
his
birthday,
22nd
Luke.
birthday. And it's funny, parental text messages to children as they're older. Amy sent Luke this thoughtful, I remember when you were born and so proud of you and da 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 da. I sent him a office emoji going, happy birthday. And who got the response first? Me. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think it's just
well.
because I was the last one to text him, but I just thought it was funny. I'm like cracking up at how thoughtful yours was, and I'm like, I sent him a stupid GIF. It's, the animated GIFs are like the Hallmark card of say like, yeah, I'd say that. Sure. There you go.
Yes, you're right.
It's because I'm a hip guy, Amy. Amy, before we get in our interview, share with some of the fun things we have going on, like our 5 o'clock alcohol-free edition.
Yes, you can go out to my website, joyontheotherside.com. That is being revamped right
Probably
now.
literally as we speak right now.
So I'm very excited about that. But you can sign up for our 5 o'clock.
Somewhere alcohol-free edition.
It's so long, and we are going to work on that.
You named it, not me.
Well, because I was trying to tie in
You're trying to
like...
be catchy.
I was trying to tuck in that we used to be those people.
We're the people your parents warned you about.
Yes.
5 o'clock somewhere.
That's your guide. We should do that. We are the people that your parents warned us.
Warned you about.
Guide. I warned you about guide.
No, that's not working
But
either, I
anyways, no, everything I come up with on this thing, but it's basically tips, pointers, a few tactics and everything that helped the two of us when we both quit drinking, and we'd love to share that with you. So you can go and sign up for the newsletter that will be coming soon after I get this website up and going, getting it revamped. We're going to be starting that probably be at the first of the year. I'm so excited to finally be. I love it because I'm looking at it going, okay, it's the website that I always wanted, and it's still like
I don't care what Squarespace says.
Has all the essence and everything that I wanted.
Who has a real website
well,
skill.
I know, but for my starting and everything, I think I did a pretty good job.
But it's really fine-tuned now.
But
so.
now it's going to be absolutely wonderful. And then also in January, fellow coach Suzanne Nissen and I are going to be doing a alcohol-free experiment that we are calling the Alcohol-Free Spirit, a 30-day break from alcohol. And if you're interested, you can always just send me an email at amy at joyontheotherside.com.
Internet.
So that is so easy for all of these things to say. The links will actually be in the show
Just look
notes.
at the show notes. It's easier than listening to us, to be honest, for real.
Yeah. So
There you go.
what
All
else
right.
were we going to talk
Well, we got
about?
the drink of the week real quick, Amy. Yours, the Untitled Art Orange Peel Wit,
Yum.
which I don't think is available the rest of the season. I apologize. I stumbled across it at Binny.
At the end of the season,
the end
but
of the
that's
season.
okay.
How'd you like it?
I really did. It was nice, fresh. It had that little bit of a zing that you're like,
Yep.
ooh.
Little citrusy zing. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Probably is supposed to be a summer beer, I'm assuming.
Probably.
That's pretty good. It was good either way.
Yeah.
It's a good fall beer.
Yep. I enjoyed it.
I made a fancy drink. Well,
You
I made it
did.
for you to try. Wasn't your jam, but
Well,
I knew it wouldn't be based on the core ingredients. So I had the Black Manhattan, a recipe I found from our friends at All the Bitter, who will be on the podcast in a couple weeks, by the way.
yay.
But it's 2 ounces of your favorite non-alcoholic whiskey. I use Spiritless 74. 1 ounce of Pathfinder, which is another new thing. Pathfinder's technically the new drink. I don't really know much about Pathfinder, but Amy says the reason I like it is because it uses a pine
Douglas fir.
and I like gin and piney things, so
I'm like, it's pine juice. That's why I don't like it. I'm tasting pine juice, but that is okay. Yes. If you like it, I think it's great. And let me just say the best thing that I enjoyed about it, I love the packaging. It's so cool.
Yeah, Pathfinder packaged really,
it's amazing.
Retro.
So
and then you have 2 drops of Bitters Aromatic and 2 drops of their Orange Bitter. So lots of orange this week, apparently. But,
and you did. It looked great. And your little photo you did and everything looked
recipe,
really cool.
If you're watching the YouTubes, it just went across your screen. The recipe will be on the notes.
That was something that has been requested that we need to start maybe doing a little bit of a little catalog, like with some of the little recipes
we need
and
a
everything.
Catalog it so we don't forget everything that we've covered, because I'm starting to lose track of what we reviewed.
We will get right on that.
All right.
Because you know that's what we do here.
Amy, all right, Amy. Get to our interview with Maureen, the sober fit chick.
Oh, my goodness. This is going to be, I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. Maureen Benkovich, and that is because she was telling us it means Ben, or the son of Ben.
Son of Ben.
Yes. Yes, I know that's what it is. So I think because he's Croatian.
Correct.
Good, I got that right. All right. And let me just tell you a little bit about Maureen's background. She has always been interested in health, fitness, and nutrition. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep for Eli Lilly for 5 years. And then she owned and operated a successful private personal training and Pilates business for almost 20 years. And then she even did some competitions, some figure competitions in her 40s, all while alcohol was a part of her life. And then finally in her 50s, she started to ask the question, am I drinking too much? So I think you're going to enjoy this. It's the Sober Fit Chick. .com is her business, and we're really excited to bring you this interview. We are live, and we are super excited today. We have Maureen Benkovich. Did I get it right this time?
You did.
Awesome. And she is the Sober Fit Chick, and she is a newly certified This Naked Mind coach. And I have had the great pleasure to start to get to know you through a WhatsApp chat that we've had going on with some of our other coaching friends. And so thank you so much for being on the Alcohol Free Marriage podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead, and before we kind of get into your story, I just wanted to ask you, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, family, and, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. I've been living here for, almost 30 years, maybe a little bit more. And I'm married 30 years. We just hit our 30-year anniversary. Hard to believe.
Congratulations.
All that time has come by. Thank you. I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, last of 5 children, Irish, Italian, Catholic family. It was a great place to grow up, Bucks County, and I had wonderful parents. So I can't say enough about that.
Oh, good. Good. And, what do you do for fun?
I like to exercise. I know people are going to think that's
No way.
I like to be outside. I like to be active. That's fun to me.
Oh, good.
So like this morning, I was telling you, I just ran a 5K, and I just like being outside with other people, all doing that energetic thing, and the leaves are changing, and it's just beautiful.
Oh, good. Well, thank you again. And so I guess we should just kind of get into, your, as I call it, your career with alcohol. And when did it start? And we'll just kind of talk about that.
Yeah. I've done a lot of thinking about this, because before I got certified as a coach, I spent a year in the path with This Naked Mind. So you really do a deep dive into looking at all those kind of things and when you started drinking. And I realized I started drinking when I was 14. So pretty young. I was young for my year. I was a freshman. I'd actually dabbled like once or twice before that because having older brothers and sisters in the house, I, saw behaviors that I mimicked. But it was high school. And I remember we were going to a football game. It was a new school for me, a new group of friends. I was nervous, anxious, and we all got in this car and went over the bridge to Trenton, New Jersey, where we could buy alcohol. And we bought Boone's Farm wine. I don't know if you know what that is, but it is like drinking pure sugar, alcohol for kids, unfortunately. And we each got our own bottle and we would drink it before the games. And that was my introduction into, okay, when I drink this stuff, I'm not as anxious and I can be funny and I can be relaxed. And I'm doing it with a bunch of other of my friends. So it's sort of like a tribal thing. Fitting in was really important to me.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that sounds really familiar. And yes, quite familiar with Boone's Farm from my youth as well. Yeah. I don't know if I ever drank it when I was legal.
That's true. Really... Yeah, once you could actually buy it, you didn't buy that stuff anymore,
right? Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, because it was so sugary as a kid, you could drink it.
And you liked it. You're like, no, this alcohol, this tastes great.
Kind of like a juice box of booze in it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So now you just touched on anxiety. Did you have anxiety then growing up and in your, going forward in your adult life?
Yeah, as a kid, I don't know why, but I was bullied a lot. And it was difficult. It was very hard because I couldn't figure out why I was picked on and bullied. And I had also had a major head trauma as a kid. I had fallen off a high dive backwards onto the cement, fractured my skull from ear to ear when I was 8 years old. And that also seemed to affect my depression. I had a lot of depression. Now we know a lot about head injuries and depression, but from an early age, I suffered with bouts of depression all the way through into my 30s, and it magically disappeared. But so I had social anxiety about fitting in because in my early grade school years, I just couldn't seem to. And then I had also depressive episodes.
Yeah. And so when you had that first drink of alcohol, did you have those telltale signs that you felt better? You felt you were relaxed and you were finally the way you were supposed to feel?
I felt I could be funny. And I mean, I am funny anyway, but I wouldn't.
You weren't afraid to be funny, right?
I was afraid to be myself because for my younger years, it seemed to be something people didn't like. I couldn't figure it out. So I was very anxious about what was the right way to be. And having alcohol made me loosen up, and I saw people respond to me. They thought I was fun and funny. So that definitely made a mark.
So that just fed into then the rest of high school then and college?
We drank, on the weekends in high school. And at college, yes, we drank on the weekends too. But it wasn't for me until actually when I got married that it really started ramping up. I mean, I drank all that time, but I had a job. I was a pharmaceutical rep after college. I drank on the weekends. It's not like I came home and drank at night for work stress or any of those things. That hadn't entered into my life at that point. But I met my husband at a bar, and we both went to Penn State, big party school. I had a lot of party friends, and that was just like what everybody was doing. And so, yeah, we drank throughout our marriage on the weekends, lots of dinners. And there was always this feeling of like that it was an adult thing, that it was sophisticated now that we're married and we can do this. And there was that aspect too, that I had seen my parents model, and now I was doing it. So it felt like an adult, sophisticated thing. But it wasn't really until, and I'm still battling depression at this time and social anxiety when we go out. So the alcohol definitely helped on the weekends and at dinners and things. But it wasn't until we started doing fertility treatments, and I had several miscarriages and several failed IVF attempts, when meanwhile all my friends around me were getting pregnant and starting families. Had one baby, had two babies, baby showers everywhere. It was really hard time for me and my husband. But
will alcohol impact IVF treatments?
oh, sure, it would. But I was still more just drinking like on the weekends. And at this point, I wasn't really going overboard, but this is when it started to happen. And what I've learned in This Naked Mind and the path is, once you start linking your drinking to trauma or stress or depression, a whole new level of addiction sets in. And there was this need to let other people know, my friends, that I was okay, because they didn't know how to respond to me when I'd lose a baby and they'd have a baby. And I was trying to let them know, oh, I'm fine. Hey, look at me. I'm a party girl on the weekends. My life's great. Don't worry about me. And that's when that whole party girl persona really kicked in, to hide my depression, my sadness around not being able to have children, and my social anxiety. And again, I saw people respond to it. They liked, crazy upbeat Maureen on the weekends when they could go out to dinner. So that just kind of ingrained it even more.
Wow. I can only imagine just how difficult that had to have been for you. And so that's what you started to do then, really just gearing in. And what was that like for you? Like on the weekends when you were in that turmoil?
Well, at this point, I had also stopped being a pharmaceutical rep and started my own personal training business. So I was always into physical fitness and health.
Okay.
I'd been an aerobic instructor, and personal training was just coming on the scene as something that could be a career. And I'd even competed in some figure competitions. So I would go 6-8 months without drinking to really, lean out your body and everything like that. But I didn't do the internal work. I didn't link the drinking to my stress and my sadness and my depression. So the night the contest was over, I was out drinking again, and I would start the cycle again. But it was really hard because, it gets into like, who am I as a woman? I can't have children. I felt like a failure in that way. And I'm keeping all this inside. I don't want my friends to see it. I don't want them to feel bad or they have to take care of me. I was too afraid to be vulnerable. Thought I'd probably lose it if I, was that way. We even tried to adopt. And through my church, it was a interesting situation. Our pastor came to us. Everybody in our church knew we wanted to adopt. And they said, listen, we have a couple with a teenage daughter who's pregnant, and they'd like to meet you. And I called my father at the time, who was a lawyer, and he said, well, it's not customary, but if this is what this young woman wants to do, and here's the kicker, she was going to deliver in 2 weeks. So we had 2 weeks to meet her, to decide. And she was interviewing some other couples too. And we wrote a whole letter why we'd like to adopt. And we met her, and she picked us. So the church kicked in, and I had a baby room before you knew it. I had everything we needed, and we were going to adopt a baby. And then about 3 days before the adoption, her family's lawyer contacted us and said they've backed out of the adoption. And it was really strange. They didn't want us to contact them. We couldn't ask why. It was almost worse than any of the miscarriages. So I had to give everything back, the baby room, dismantle it. Everybody in the church was so excited, let everybody know it didn't happen. It was a really tough time. So I was definitely all that time ramping up drinking, but being really quiet about it. Again, I didn't want anybody to know how much I was really hurting. And then you'd be surprised in the fitness industry how many young trainers and aerobic instructors and people are partying pretty hard when they're not teaching or working out. It was kind of a strange dichotomy going on there. work
It-
hard, play hard kind of thing.
Yeah. Such the cognitive dissonance is
Hmm.
so high, I feel, in that industry, and even in just wellness in general with
Hmm.
yoga studios. And I mean, not all, obviously, but there are so many who it just goes hand in hand with like cycle bars saying, okay, come and go real hard. And then we'll all have mimosas at the bar.
Hmm.
Well, we have that. We have that around here. A couple of different places will do yoga, and then afterwards it's at the brew house. So you do yoga, and then you have a couple beers
Right.
at 11 in the morning. It's like,
Yeah.
so I'm curious.
Well,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
As you know, the alcohol industry a while ago, because when I was a trainer, that kind of thing wasn't happening. It was starting to. The alcohol industry said, oh, we're missing a huge market here.
Yep.
We're missing women. How can we market to women? Let's start doing, mommy wine time, book club and wine, yoga and wine, workout and wine, and it worked, right? It really increased that
Mhm.
whole alcohol culture amongst women.
So I was going to ask you, have you read Carla Atkins' book then, where she actually coins that whole phrase, giving alcohol a job?
Which book did she write? Sober Curious?
Read the title of it.
That was it. And she came tumbling down.
I haven't read that one yet. I've read a lot of them.
Yeah, I know. She's also this Naked Mind coach too.
Oh, okay.
But like in her book, she talks about giving alcohol a job.
Yes.
And it was, if you gave it a job because your identity was so wrapped up, you were the party girl, you even said that. I mean, it's like, oh no, this is who I am. So can you tell us what was that process like for you to finally like let go of alcohol and, or up to it? Like what made you decide this is not working for me? Because I know you've said, you just started that cycle again, and you clearly could quit drinking for periods of time. So I'm sure then that probably even led into, oh, I don't really have a problem because I don't have to, I can quit.
Exactly. I would think, sure, I detox, I would call it, detoxing, be healthy, try to sweat it out, try to eat right, have your smoothies, do 10 days without alcohol, and then go right back to it. I think for me, it really became evident to me that for me, it was becoming much bigger in my life than I wanted it to when I had now stopped being a personal trainer, and my husband and I had bought into a franchise, and I was traveling a pretty tough commute around the DC Beltway. It was very unpredictable. Could take you 2 hours or 3 hours to get home if you didn't hit it right. And doing a job that I really wasn't cut out for, to be a landlord, essentially, someone who needed a really tough spine and could handle all the things that came with that, to a very particular difficult group of people as professional hairstylists. So it was not really the job for me, but I did it for 5 years. And at the same time, my mother was becoming sick and debilitating and into dementia, and my father needed help. So I would go through this triangle. I go from Maryland to Virginia, Virginia to Pennsylvania, stay there for 10 days, do my turn. My siblings and I would take turns of helping take care of my parents. And it was a really hard thing. So the drinking was ramping up, when I get home from this terrible job. When I'd finished taking care of my mother and I'd go out with my friends at home and I'd drink, I was drinking to hide the grief, the stress. And then my father had a stroke. So now we've got both parents who are sick and dying. And I guess this was, try to do this without crying. My father is like my hero, amazing guy, and meant a lot to me. And after the stroke, he had expressed some concern to me about my drinking when I come home on the weekends. He said, Maureen, just have one, one martini. We would have one together, but then I'd go out and have more. He'd say, just have one, babe. And after the stroke, he had no more ability to be subtle. There was no filter, and he was dying. He had reached his peak in the stroke and was coming back down. And on this one day, my sisters and brother and I were in the hospital room telling my father, you've come as far as you can, and now you're dying, essentially. It was a really tough day.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, even debilitated with a stroke, was still a gentleman. And the doctor walked in the room and he said, "Doctor," in his sort of, stroke slurred speech, "let me introduce my children to you." And he said, this is my oldest daughter, Meredy. She's an artist. This is my daughter, Donna. She's a biochemist. This is my son, Mark. He's a judge. And this is my daughter, Maureen, the drinker.
Ooh.
And I was like, whoa.
Oh.
And
I mean, too much your identity, huh?
Whoa, yeah.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Nobody really caught it in the room because of the gravity of what we were about to share with him. But I was floored. And, that night I said to my sisters, I'm like, did you catch that? And they're like, "Oh, he didn't mean it that way." I'm like, he just said what he said. And I feel like it was a last ditch effort. And it worked. I always tell them, like, I heard you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be known as that. That was not my identity. So I really started doing some soul searching after that, and started journaling. And it got me up to September 14th of last year. It was the last entry in my journal. I was writing to God, and I was going to lunch with some friends. I said, "Please just let me have 2 drinks." I was telling him that I was struggling and really didn't want to be this way. I didn't like who this person was. And I was really asking him to help me moderate. And of course, that night I came home smashed. I drank way more than 2 drinks. And that was the last time I drank, because I laid it all out to him. And I said, "I can't do this without you, God. I need your help.
Mm-hmm.
I am done. This is killing me. I know this is killing me. And I can't live with the internal struggle anymore." So then I think like that, the next day was the last day I drank alcohol, and I found the path online because I was Googling all this stuff about alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol-induced anxiety, alcohol-induced depression. I was learning a lot about it, and I found the path. And so I had 2 weeks from September 14th to October 1st when the path started, where I didn't drink at all, but I was totally white knuckling it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was inundating myself with Quit Lit, audiobooks, listening to everything I could, journaling my face off, and couldn't wait for the path to start, because they said, "Do you want to make alcohol small and irrelevant in your life?" And I did. Like, I just knew that if I didn't stop this, I was
Mm-hmm.
killing myself.
Yeah.
It's interesting because similar-ish path to yours, but how alcohol can easily start in a lot of people as this seemingly anyway small solution to what you feel like is a much bigger problem, right? I was kind of bullied too, had some of that anxiety. Oh, I have a drink. Oh, I can loosen up. I can be more, personal, whatever. But then train wreck way down the line, that becomes your personality, right? And it's not beneficial, and it's just causing all these problems. Towards the end, I always ask this question: what were you drinking, and then about how much were you drinking?
Well, being a very fit and healthy person, I was watching my sugar intake. So I would drink straight up martinis, no mixers, because that was the lowest carb drink.
There you go.
Sorry, I did all of those things too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I could have this and this. Oh yeah. So yeah, I love that.
And it was all wrapped up in that sophistication thing in the glass. And it was something that my father would drink a martini, but he would have one. But, I was like, it was all wrapped up in that whole romanticizing and nostalgia and sophistication lie that it was. But I would drink, maybe 2, maybe 3 martinis. And then after that, we drink wine, then any worry about calories went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just drinking way too much. I was blacking out. I would wake up in a panic. My heart would be racing at 3 a.m, sweating,
Mm-hmm.
wondering what I said or did, looking at my phone, trying to recreate the night. I would call some friends the next day, and they used to laugh at me and say, "Oh, you're so anxious." And don't worry about it. We're all doing it. But I knew I was doing it more than anybody, and I knew how it was affecting me. That was really the bottom line. It was the anxiety was through the roof.
Yeah. Can you tell us, how has your quitting drinking, how has that affected your relationships, with your husband and friends? Because alcohol is so ingrained in all of our lives, especially those of us who do drink, because most of our friends are drinking with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is probably the number one thing that holds people back from either really cutting back or stopping alcohol is, what will people think? What will my friends think? What will the group that I hang out with and drink with think? Especially because I was hiding my inner turmoil. So they were like, "What? Wait, you're stopping drinking?" I remember early on in November of last year. Actually, it must have been like December, because the holiday things were up in the restaurants. I went out with a friend to lunch and told her I wasn't drinking. She gave me a really hard time the whole lunch. "This is ridiculous. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe we're not drinking." And I'm like, "You can drink. I'm just not drinking." And you quickly find out who your friends are, and the ones who are really just your drinking buddies. Um, and it was kind of a shock for a lot of my friends, because I was the party girl. I would get everybody else going. So this is a totally different Maureen.
Yeah.
Well, and if the party girl stops drinking, what's that say about everybody else? It's like, oh, well, she was driver of all this, and now she's not. So now what do I, all of a sudden they've lost their North Star. Now what am I supposed to? I don't know what to do, right? Like, you were almost, I think you kind of became their excuse, right? Like, oh, she's drinking more than I am, so as long as I'm drinking less than Maureen, we're all good, and she's still drinking, so we must be okay, right? It becomes, and it's like, oh, well, she doesn't. Now I'm the highest common denominator. Now what?
And you hold up that unintentional mirror to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't about that at all. No way was I judging, because I drank a lot, but it just wasn't right for me anymore. Obviously, the biggest person I was concerned about was my husband.
Yeah.
But he, during the last few years, as I was really drinking too much, he would say, "Can't we just, go to dinner and go home?" Because once I started drinking, I was one of those people who got wound up and didn't want to stop. And I'd be like, "Let's go out afterwards. Let's go here." And I'd text people that I knew would be out partying, and he'd be like, "Can't we just go home? Can't you just have one or two?" And when I finally went to him, I said, "Look, I'm doing this thing. I'm doing a year-long commitment to the path. I'm going to need your support. I'm not drinking anymore." It was like he had forgotten all those nights. And he's like, "Can't you just moderate?" I'm like, "Do you remember the stuff I used to do?" Like, no, I cannot moderate. I have passed that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, alcohol, it just, I can't moderate. And over the time, as I would share with him things I learned through Annie Grace's program, he would start to understand addiction and the brain and dopamine and how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So I was educating him unknowingly, just sharing all this stuff. But the biggest thing is he saw the changes in me.
Yeah.
I've gotten off antidepressants.
That's amazing.
I mean, I never expected that. I don't take anything to go to sleep. I sleep through the night. I get up early now. I get up at 5:30.
That is
I work
awesome.
out. Yeah, it's I mean, but he in the beginning it was challenging, because we did have this big social group, and at first I just had to protect my new pink thing. I think that's from Laura McGowan. Is it "We Are the Luckiest"? She says, my alcohol-free life was my new baby.
Mm-hmm.
I finally had a baby, right? It was me. It was taking care of this new lifestyle that I really wanted, and I was just starting to see the possibilities, and I just had to protect it with everything. I had to say no to so many things, and just fill my mind with all this good information I was learning, and all this quit lit, and all these other people who had gone before me, who were 4 and 5 and 6 years out alcohol free, and the lives they were living and the things they were doing. I just had to saturate myself with that stuff.
Tell us about all those great things that are now happening for you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like I said, this morning I ran a 5K, and I did a little Instagram post, which I'm just learning how to do that. That's funny. But I would usually, I see all this time when I was drinking, I would keep up my fitness and I would rationalize, well, at least I'm working out. So I don't have, an issue. But I said on the post this morning, I said, normally I'd show up to one of these things. Probably today's Sunday. I would have probably drank Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, fooled myself on Saturday, maybe just had 2 drinks, because of the race and get up and be hungover and go do this thing and feel awful and do terrible, like pathetic 5K and be wiped out for the rest of the day. But I'd say, oh, I did my 5K. So that's, all right. So this morning, I've been training consistently. I've been working towards this. I'm clean eating, haven't had alcohol for a year and 2 months. Totally different. I got there early. I did a warm-up mile before the run and I did a personal best this morning. So that was just really satisfying to me, and to be with all these other people out there doing that and just really not being a hypocrite. I'm really living that lifestyle now. I'm really living that sober fit chick lifestyle.
Yeah. Tell us about Sober Fit Chick, your new business and everything. Because I'm so excited for you. We're in another group together. And so I'm getting to see, your website and all of these things. And it's just, for me, it's just so exciting because I was like you. My identity even though we have kids, our identity was, we were the drinkers and we did this, but I also was always the person. I got up and I worked out and it was like, nope, I'm getting this out of me. You drank too much. So here you go. Here's your punishment. And I probably miss more workouts now, but I feel look so much better than the bam, 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 bam. So I just think it's just awesome to see your website and to see what you're going to do. And I'm really excited about it because I think because you've been in this for so long, you are an authority. You have that voice. And I think you're going to really be able to make some significant changes in people's lives.
Yeah. I mean, about maybe 2 months into the path, and the path is the year-long program where you experience coaching. So online, I was getting lots of coaching and I was being vulnerable and sharing, and the community online, all of it was just an incredible experience. But those coaches, I just said, oh, I want to do that. I want to help people. I've always wanted to help people, right? I've always been in like these teaching kind of roles, but I just knew I wanted to do it. So I called up one of our coaches and I said, can I be a coach? And she put me in touch with Scott, who's the lead coach, right, in Annie's organization. And he said, hey, if you've really had the mind shift, then yeah. And I had, like, I was like at 2 months in, I was done with alcohol. I knew, I'm like, this is where I'm going. I'm not looking back. So that I signed up for the training in January, and I was doing the path and training to be a coach at the same time. So that was a lot.
That's
but crazy. It was also,
yeah.
Here I am, the client, and learning how to be a coach. So getting to see it from both perspectives, and just learning so much. I can't learn enough. I just feel like a sponge. Like I just want to learn so much more. And then one of the people I follow that I really like a lot, Sober Sis. I don't know if you follow her. I really identified with her whole detox, retox.
I'm a Sober Sis.
Okay. So so you exactly what you were talking about. And I'm like, that's what I've been doing. Detoxing only to retox, detox to retox. So that's sort of been the lane I'm going down, because I do, with my pharmaceutical background and my personal training background, I do understand a lot about the body and the way things work, and realizing really what we've been doing to our bodies doing that is just so detrimental. And we just heard about the Huberman Lab, who breaks down that study out of the UK, and just talking about moderate drinking is a problem. It does cause brain tissue degeneration. So, it's finally out there that yes, moderate drinking is a problem. And all these, you can detox and retox on it. Like I was, you can save all your drinks for the weekend, right? Drink 7 to 14 or more drinks over the weekend, and then detox all week. or you can be a person who's having 2 glasses of wine every night and you're constantly in that mini detox retox cycle. Because as you know, all those other chemicals are being released by your body to counter this toxin, and they don't leave your system for 10 days. And those are the ones that were causing my anxiety and worsening my depression, the cortisol, the adrenaline, the dynorphin, and that stuff's just not common knowledge. So I want to get that out there, including to my fitness community. I actually just gave a talk at the place where I've worked out for the last 12 years on the Huberman Lab study and the whole detox retox and what we're really doing ourselves. And I'm with a community of people that will split hairs over, should we have canola oil because it's inflammatory, or olive oil? We'll definitely have the olive oil. But hey, let's drink after our 5K.
I know.
Right?
And I want to go and like hit my head up against a wall when I'm listening to friends of mine, like they're so excited about, we're at lunch and they've got this, they're doing everything right. And yet they are protecting this glass of wine. Like I can feel it. Not with all, but with a lot of them, they're holding on to this so tightly because it's like us. It's their identity. They can't see themselves without it. And it's so hard to get in that and be, to be not the alcohol evangelist, I don't want to do that, but it's so interesting and curious to just watch people sit there. And I want to say, hi, can I share a few things with you? I'm going to kill everything right now. But, so you have to really be careful how you approach that too, because so many people they just have those blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
So in your program,
I didn't want to hear it.
I know. I didn't either. So I think that's kind of the challenge is to get to the right audience within the fitness industry and the yoga community, locally. And it's so funny because when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, let's go to the brewery. We'll get our beer afterwards. You're
undoing all the hard work
everything
you've been doing. You might be breaking even, maybe, probably not. I wasn't. I mean, I was frustrated that my weight wasn't where it was. My energy wasn't there. I didn't have the endurance. I wasn't building muscle, even though I was lifting weights. Well, yeah, because I'm this big elephant over in the corner of the room that you talked about that I wanted to protect. I would have these nutrition conversations with my trainer, and he knew like that one thing we couldn't talk about. We could talk about everything else. And I would even look at everything. I have celiac, so I don't even eat gluten and I don't eat dairy, and but I'm over here drinking a toxin. And until you get it, till something clicks with you. And for me, that was the community work and working with a coach and hearing the science over and over and starting to understand, oh wow, I'm drinking an addictive substance. No wonder why I can't just stop. And there's ways to do it, but you have to want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Maureen, in your program, is it alcohol coaching along with fitness coaching together, or is it one or the other, or how are you working that?
I'm not doing personal training anymore,
okay,
but I can't help weave into everybody I know wants to be healthy and desires to keep up some level of fitness, the people in my world. And so I can't help but integrate what I know as a former personal trainer, fitness instructor, and just a general health and fitness enthusiast. I always research stuff. Like I researched my depression, and that's when I started to realize alcohol-induced depression, alcohol-induced anxiety. It's a real thing. And I started reading. So same thing here. The more I learn, the more I want to share. Because I think that empowers people when they have that information, because again, the alcohol industry is out there pushing moderation is good. You need your resveratrol. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you couldn't drink enough to get the amounts of resveratrol you would need. You could take it in a supplement form just fine. But, we're countering all that, so society, television, advertisements. You notice on all those advertisements, those people are like beautiful and healthy and fit. That's not what's really going on when you're drinking all the time.
Yeah.
So just to counter this stuff that we're constantly being bombarded with, I'm excited about that and sharing that to who will listen. So at my gym the other night, we ended a whole 30-day sober October alcohol awareness. So there were slides in our gym going up about statistics about alcohol and muscle recovery and fitness, and then gave a talk at the end of the night. And the people who came were people who were interested in learning more. So that was nice.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that too. Cause
thank you.
That's really, really making some headway in there. Because it takes us just to be able to reach, one or two more people, and then they'll, get like us. They'll be like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I need to tell people too. So it's not going to be something that happens like this, but it's, I think there's enough of us who are in it for the long haul now. And
it's growing.
Things are growing. Things are changing. But I think it's just interesting, especially when we see that the latest report that came out that says alcohol really is, what is it, the most preventable, or the number one preventable, what is it, death? I mean, causes of death. Yeah.
Right. Just, I saw that on the news the other night. Like, wow.
I know. And I was just like, oh, that's huge. And I'm wondering what will happen with that, because I know that there's so many people again who are just going to be, and I don't watch a lot of news anymore. So then it's kind of like, well, is it really being covered? I mean, I'm seeing it in some news articles, and I've actually had some friends share it with me because they obviously know what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool to have somebody who I know is still drinking sending me something. And it's like, oh, well, this is making an impact. She saw this and she knows my message. So it's crazy though.
I think we should start the Pathetic 5K. I think that's that's my kind of run, Pathetic 5K. I'm all in for that.
I could be in the Pathetic 5K.
Yes.
I've done enough of those.
Yeah.
I'm 56 years old. I wish I had figured this out sooner, but I'm here right now figuring this out and doing the best that I can and getting healthier like every day. And I want to share this, with people who also want to be healthier and take care of themselves, which I really think is most people. And just to help them to understand, we are drinking a toxin all the time, and if you really can help get that information out there in a non-judgmental fashion, and just sharing my story, because believe me, people around here knew I used to drink. So, I know people are watching me, and it's the ripple effect. And people are my friends. Some are asking me questions. I have an Instagram going now, and I see people, my friends, some of them following me and commenting. And, so I'm glad, like, if any way I can disseminate the information in a way that feels safe, and something they can look into, then that's great.
I love it. Tell us about how they can get in touch with you, and anything else that, that you would like to share as we wrap this up.
Okay. So I named my coaching business, Sober Fit Chick LLC, but just soberfitchick.com is my website. And then Sober Fit Chick LLC is my Instagram. So you can find me in either one of those places, and you can check out my website. There's an opportunity if you want to schedule what we call a discovery call. If you'd like to just, talk I have a 30-minute or a 90-minute option, depending what you want to talk about. And we can see if, coaching would be right for you. There's one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and also the 30-day alcohol experiment, which is always good to do in a group because, like I said, having community and people being vulnerable and sharing just really sort of solidifies everything.
Oh, Well, thank you so much.
You're missing the big question.
Oh, go ahead,
You
Matt.
forget.
Go ahead.
Can't
I
forget.
forgot the big question.
Yeah, the big question. What is your favorite go-to non-alcoholic drink?
Okay, so I'm prepared. Look, this is not a commercial, but when I first started not drinking, I wanted to continue going out with my friends as much as possible. So I'd order mocktails, and they would be so sugary. And I'm thinking, I don't want to trade off one bad thing for another. So then I started looking for mocktails or ingredients that I could make at home. And I found a number of them. I look for things that are called adaptogens. You've probably heard of that. So they can help with energy, clarity, tired. They adapt to what you need, and just natural herbs. So I found this one company called Sunwink that I really like. And this one in particular is called Turmeric Recover. So turmeric, as you know, is a natural anti-inflammatory, and recover for muscle recovery. I just ran this morning, like I told you. So I squeeze a whole lemon into it on ice, and I actually take this with me to restaurants too now. I take a couple bottles and I, have my own mocktail there. But there's a whole world of good products that you can have because people are starting to learn. So my mocktails always will have a health benefit, not just a sugary thing in a nice glass.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
we're going to have to try that.
Another one for
Yeah.
Drink of the Week. Yes. All right.
Well, thank you so much. And we are just delighted again that you decided to come on here with us. And I wish you so much success. And hopefully, we can do this again. We'd love to come on your show when you launch.
Yes.
When you launch it. We would love to do that. And you know what? I think you might even have a book in you.
We'll see. There's so much I want to
do. we have so much more energy now. It's like, and we can dream. And that's what I think that's probably one of my most favorite things is now you can dream again.
You're so right. I am dreaming again. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was great. And we so appreciate it. And we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Maureen. That was amazing. That may be a little loud. Totally enjoyed the interview. Lots of I think we talked about that. Just another angle, right? She's not just somebody who drank and quit. Like she has the fitness, and she had all that fitness health knowledge. Yeah. And she was still drinking. She knocked that out, and now she's just
really talked about that. That detox to retox.
Yep.
Just over and over and over again. And I was very familiar with that because that's what I was doing in my life. Yep. And
it's tough being the when you're the head party person.
Yes.
It's tough.
It really is. Yeah. It is. So we really did identify with that.
Yeah, definitely.
We did that well.
We did.
Didn't we? So, you know, before, remember, please go out to her site, soberfitchick.com, show her some love. She will be an amazing coach. I know it. She already is. And also, please go out and subscribe this podcast on all of those areas.
All the places.
All the places. Just go out there because it does help us.
It does. It does. All right. We apparently have to go because that beeping is a child who needs picked up right about now. So, all right, kids. Well, that's it for us for this week for the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast. I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields, and we are
out.